Hi, my name is Rachel Whitmore, and this is my freedom story. I was raised in a Christian home. I have loving parents who are part of Catalyst now, and they made sure that my sisters and I were in church every single time the doors were open, Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. Unfortunately, the denomination that I grew up in was very legalistic. And as I look back now on it, I realize that they were more concerned with how you looked on the outside than how you looked on the inside. And I grew up with this mindset that if I was the good girl, if I always did the right things and I didn't do the wrong things, then I was okay. When it came time to choose a college, I chose a college that is in the panhandle of Florida, and it's very legalistic, lots of rules, lots of regulations, lots of restrictions. And I chose that school because it was inexpensive, but also because I felt like, as a good Christian girl, that's what I should do. It probably was one of the best things for me, though, because when I got there and I was living under all of those regulations, I had to wear skirts every day that were a certain length. I had to wear pantyhose every day. I couldn't go off campus. I couldn't touch guys. All of that made me truly examine what I believed and why I believed it. Interestingly enough, it was at that college that I truly came into a relationship with Christ. I realized that I had been leaning on the legalism and the rule following to get me to heaven. And it was there that I felt Christ saying, all of that doesn't matter. All that matters is me. And so it was at that time, when I was a junior at that college, that I came into a true relationship with Jesus. And that's where my freedom truly started to happen. I graduated from that college and went on to teach at a small Christian school that furthered that idea of legalism and all of that bondage. It wasn't until David became a youth pastor and I became a women's Bible study leader and I was facilitating a Beth Moore Bible study called Breaking Free that I realized just how bound up Satan had me in legalism. My legalism, my belief that even though I had a relationship with Christ, I still had to do certain things to be good enough, to be clean enough to come to Him. All of that belief I was projecting onto other people, and it was causing me to be judgmental. And God used that study to break me free from the belief that there are certain things that we have to do in order to come to Christ. When I did that study, I experienced true freedom for the first time. It was in that study that God revealed to me Galatians 5:1, where He tells us that we are set free for freedom's sake, and that we're not to be bound up in a yoke of slavery anymore. And every time I would go back to the legalism and the judgmentalism, I was being a Pharisee, and I was being bound up again by that yoke of slavery. And so I'm so glad that God never gave up on me, that He continued to lead me to that verse. I went through that Bible study a second time when we came here to Catalyst, and I could do that study and just be thankful that no longer do I believe that I have to look a certain way, act a certain way. God only looks at our hearts, and that's so much more important than how people look on the outside, because I've seen a lot of people who look on the outside like they don't have it together, but they have the purest hearts. And on the flip side, I've seen a lot of people who look like they have it together, and they just have ugly hearts. And so I'm thankful that God sent Jesus Christ, that He revealed Himself to me that day in college, and that it's been a journey of freedom for me from legalism.